if you look at our add to cart function, if you remember the return statement, how we checked like for a true or false statement where if the success one thing is in our response.txt, it's true, and if it's not, then it's false. Um, we never actually use that, right? We just run the function. And what you should be doing is every function that you write, including this checkout function, should have some sort of response that returns true or false. And you want some sort of wrapper function that you can pass other functions to, and the wrapper function just kind of runs the function over and over again until it returns true, or it returns an object in the case of get sizes in stock. So in other words, you basically just need some sort of wrapper function that runs a given function while it's returning none or false, or until it's returning true or some sort of object. And another good practice is to log everything that happens. So you can do this with simple print statements, and you can just say like confirming order and order confirmed and adding size to cart and all that stuff. But I also have a function that kind of allows me to pass a string to it, and then it's going to print that string with a timestamp. So that way I can see various things like how fast my bot is, what parts are taking longer, and kind of figure out if there's anything I can do about that. So like, for example, before and after checkout, I would do like log confirming order and then log order confirmed, and um, and then like look at the time difference between those, and if it's taking too long, I can kind of see what I can tweak to make it go a little faster. Also, one thing I should add is that Jimmy Jazz is probably one of the easiest sites to write a script for, which is why I chose it. But some sites are nearly impossible. Most sites are at least somewhat difficult, and this is coming from someone who's been coding Python for 4 years. So it's going to be frustrating, and some nights you're going to be up until 5 a.m., but uh, my best advice is just to kind of go for it. I started coding bots like 6 months ago, and it wasn't until last week that a script that I wrote entirely by myself without anyone's help actually hit a pair of run through times. Um, so it's gonna take a while, and I mean a huge part of the reason that it took me so long was that I was kind of scared to actually run my scripts because I like I thought if it feels this easy to write these scripts, um, then why isn't someone who's much better at it, who's been doing it for longer, aren't they just gonna have faster bots that can beat me to it? So like, what's the point of running it if that's true? But it's not really true. You just kind of have to go for it and see what happens. And then you can see even if you don't hit pairs, that's okay because you can see what went wrong. You can see where you can improve, and you can understand that getting 20 Yeezys is a process that doesn't happen overnight. Each drop you run, just look where it failed and ask, like, was there an error anywhere? Was it just too slow? And if you put these answers together every drop, you can start to tweak it and refactor it and improve it, and then over time, it's gonna work. So that's all. That's all I have. I'm gonna archive this video and upload it to YouTube. So if you want to rewatch anything that you missed or anything that confused you, you can do that. I have time for a few questions, so I'm gonna make a Google form right now, or I have a Google form. Let me paste that in the chat. And sorry, 1 second. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and fill that out, and as they start rolling in, I can start answering the ones that I can answer. Um, I'm not perfect at this. This script isn't perfect, but if you put the time and effort into it, you can definitely do things with it. So, all right. All right. So question one: could you go through a bot with with CAPTCHA Harvester, manual one? I don't have any bots that have a CAPTCHA harvester, like a manual CAPTCHA harvester. I do all my CAPTCHA stuff through 2CAPTCHA, which is an API that essentially lets you kind of outsource your CAPTCHAs to people that will solve it for you. So I wouldn't know where to start with a CAPTCHA harvester. All right. Second question. Pastebin, Haspin, JJ script. All right, I will pastebin this without this credit card in it. And I'll post that into the chat as well. And I can post that on my Twitter and whatnot as well. Will I cook 50 Yeezys with this? This script, probably not. But, you know, maybe one day. It's always possible. Alright, next question. Could you upload the code? Yeah, I just pasted that in the chat. I'll put that on my Twitter as well. And I'll put a link to the uploaded video on my Twitter as well. Hopefully it's being saved as we speak. Maybe I should find that out. Alright. Well, in my settings, it says automatically archive my broadcasts is on, so that should be fine. Alright, so next question. Will you make a video for Shopify? Maybe, at some point. I mean, the stream is more just as a basic, like, what is a sneaker bot? How does a very basic sneaker bot work? And but maybe I'll keep doing videos. Alright, next question. How do some people like Simi, I don't know who that is, only have 3 months of experience and can already cart pairs? Overall, how important is experience versus having someone guide you? Having someone guide you is extremely important. If you can find someone and just kind of like see if they can help you and maybe offer them something in return, not necessarily money, but just be like, if this works out, I'll give you a couple pairs for retail or whatever, or like you run them auto checkout or something like that. That'll definitely help in terms of like learning what to do and what not to do. But experience is also important. Like if you barely know how to code, I would definitely spend, like, before you start like working on actual scripts, I would definitely just spend some time looking for books and online tutorials of Python or whatever language you wanna code in. All right, so the next question is, Swift Cop or Danny Ross, who wins in a fight? Well, I don't know Danny Ross and I do know Swift Cop, so I'm gonna say Swift Cop. Don't know who Danny Ross is. Next question. Show some examples of proxy use in code. Alright, I'm not going to show an example, but what I am going to do is I'm going to link you to the Python requests documentation. And if you search that up and you just go to the first link, you'll see all this stuff. And search up proxies. find this page about proxies. Proxies equals HTTP, and then you link a proxy, HTTPS, you link a proxy, you don't need both of them. And then you just say, in your request, you say proxies equals proxies. So that's how you do proxies. It's pretty straightforward. I would recommend, if you have any questions about requests or BS4, just search up the documentation. That's always helpful. Next question. Would you recommend Node over Python or any other language? I use Python because I find it to be the easiest. The thing with languages is like some of them are faster than others, but by faster I mean like milliseconds faster. The only time like speed really matters is when you're dealing with big data, and then it could be a matter of like minutes, and in that case you're going to want to pick a language. In this case, like, you're really not doing that much, so I would just choose whatever you're comfortable with, because more importantly than a fast language, fast proxies and fast servers are gonna help you more than a fast language will. Can you go over adding a config file for address and whatnot? I will do that at some point, but I'm not going to do that right now because that's going to take another half an hour or an hour. But I'll do that at another point. What's the next best step to continue learning? Keep reading books, and doing online tutorials, and just kind of look for sites that you can try bots on. When I say other sites are harder to bot, it's the same process, but it's like sometimes they'll need like an extra token, or like I said, they want the product ID when you're adding to cart, or they'll run some JavaScript or something like that, or they'll have cookies from somewhere, from some hidden request that you have to find, stuff like that. And like it's all the same process, but like honestly just going for it. And if you have questions, hit me up, hit other people up that code, and just kind of figure it out as you go along. Okay. How many Yeezys did you cop using your own Python script? I mean, as I said, like my own, like something that I wrote myself entirely, I've copped 2 pairs of shoes with that. But using other people's help, like my brother and some other people on Twitter, I don't know, probably like 10 to 20 total, in the past 2 or 3 drops that I've been doing this on. And like I mean, I'm sure that's going to go up over time, but you know, you got to put the time and effort into it if you want results. Have you made a finish line script? No. Do some websites block Python requests? So Python requests it's just a module. It's just it's doing the same thing as I'm doing when I reload this page. I'm making a request to this URL. So websites can't block Python requests. It's not like something that's possible for them to do. But sometimes they'll do things like, so when you open something in a browser, that browser can run JavaScript, and that's something you can't do with Python requests. So some websites will kind of like run JavaScript or something like that to check, or like have certain cookies to check if you're running through a browser or if you're not. I've run into like 3 out of like 30 sites that did that, so it happens, and that makes it a lot more difficult, but it's possible to get around those. But in general, like Python requests will work for everything. Is Yeezy Dawn washed? I have no idea. How do you get a parameter for a request that is generated by JavaScript or jQuery? That is an important question that I figured out like very recently.